Okay, we're live. Testing. Mic test 1, 2, 3.
Un, deux, trois. Un, deux, trois. 1, 2, 3. Checkmate, King 2. This is White Work over.
One niner. All right. I think we got audio, Marcus. So okay, we're going to start the real show here. So 1, 2, 3. Welcome to DroneNation, everyone, for September 20th, 2021. Almost like the first day fall, last day of summer. It's always between the 20th and the 21st. So as you folks can see, Marcus is back from his well-needed Florida vacation where he could relax, in the sun and be pampered all week. But he's back now, and I'm glad he's back because we got a big show for you today. Yeah. We got Autel news, GoPro news. We got experts. We're bringing Hot Rod and Daytona to help us dissect through all this Autel news. It's going to be a really big show tonight. But before I dig into that too much, I do want to send some thoughts and prayers out to our buddy Greg Pittman and his family. He recently lost his mother after a long illness. So please keep Greg in your thoughts tonight. And also, just a real short reminder, Marcus, today's iOS 15 today. Apple dropped their, version 15 of iOS. And Marcus, maybe it'll help relieve some of the overheating issues.
I'm looking right now to see if it's asking me for an update. You
have to go and search it, because remember, I never upgrade on the first day because the servers are really jammed and you may get like a bad update. So I hold off. Do it tomorrow is my advice.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But anyhow, that's my notes I want to give off top. And this is the last minute addition to the agenda, though. We're going to get to Marcus. He's going to talk for a few minutes. And then we're going to bring in our good friend of the show, DeMarco Moore, because after we ran this segment last week, there was great demand out on the web for DeMarco to return with his fearless Monday Night Football forecast. So he will be here in a few seconds. But I'm going to throw it over to Marcus so he can kind of catch up on what's been going on with his vacation and what he's got going on this week.
Yeah. Hey, so quickly on vacation. So we didn't even rent a car. We just flew straight to Orlando. We've got a Disney timeshare, so we stayed right on Disney property. And I'll tell you, our good friend Sean over at Oz, I was going to say Oz by Drones, but Sean Ozz, he said the same thing when he did it. If you ever get there and you get a chance to go to Rise of the Resistance, the new big Star Wars ride at Disney Studios, holy cow. I mean, anybody that's a Star Wars fan, you those doors open up and you're facing a whole row of stormtroopers. If the hair doesn't stand up on the back of your neck, I don't know, there's something wrong with you. It was pretty cool. So needless to say, we had a beautiful room, had fun time. Now back to drones. Ron, today I flew a really exciting drone, the SJRC F7. What's that? I don't hear anybody cheering.
Is that one of those kind of beast type drones?
Well, it's kind of an oddball. It's the SJRC F11 of those bargain price drones is a pretty decent drone. A lot of those drones in that category are pretty questionable. SJRC F11 is pretty good. The F7, I flew it today. It's not as good as the F11, but it's not bad. It flew pretty good. And it's a weird looking thing. It's a folding drone, but it's got legs on it like a Phantom's, and it's got a big camera that hangs off a gimbal on the bottom. So it keeps it, like I was out at Hero Spark, landed it in the grass. Those legs kept the props up and everything out of the grass. Drone flew pretty good. It does have a 4K camera. It shoots, though, 15 frames per second, Ron.
Nice.
So the video, I mean, it looked okay. I mean, I guess, it almost looked like it was a watercolor. I don't know if you've seen pictures in video when it looks like that.
You get the free watercolor effect with it.
That's essentially
for free. Okay.
Yeah, essentially what it was. And I mean, that's about a $230 drone. But, it gets back to, hey, if you're going to spend that much.
How much did you say?
$230,
And how much
$229.
is the Mini SE?
Well, that was just what I was going to say. $299. Hey, just get the Mini SE. It's 10 times the product, and so it's those kind of drone manufacturers, I think. I don't know. Maybe there's a market in other parts of the world, but I think they're definitely going to struggle. You really have a hard time recommending them now that the Mini SE is available. But
DJI didn't do those companies any favors this summer, did they?
That's a fact. I will say the drone flew good, and it was fairly powerful. It took off. It was very stable. It flew just fine. So that was.
You better lay off this DJI talk. They'll be calling us fanboys again, Marcus.
Yeah, they do accuse us of being fanboys. Not ashamed to talk about that. But that said, Ron, the other thing that's happened, I think, since the last time I talked to you is FEMI did send me a replacement for my FEMI Mini, so I'm on my fourth one. And I flew it before I went on vacation, and it flew really well. No shakes in the gimbal, had no connection issues. In fact, the gimbal, Ron, you'd be amazed, it was rock solid. I mean, even in sport mode, I didn't get any of that gimbal pitch shift. So that's good news on that one. So I'm anxious to fly that some more and see how it does.
My Mini invented the gimbal pitch shift.
It did, Ron, and that's the problem with those kind of drones is you never know if you're going to get a good one or a bad one. I mean, obviously, I went through 4 of them before I got one that I think is a reasonable product. And then Ron, leads me into the Xeno Mini Pro, and I did hear again from Hubsan, and I do have a tracking number. They are sending me a completely new drone with more batteries, controller, everything, the whole package over again.
But your current one has flown much better after recent updates, though, correct?
It has. The updates have helped everything with the exception of the gimbal, and it still has the shakes, and the video quality is still questionable to me. And then I will say the obstacle avoidance still isn't working like it should. So
yeah, hopefully, that's common. I think that to most people. So
I agree with you.
Hey, and a quick note while you're on that, Greg Pittman received his replacement Xeno Mini from Hubsan, and he did a test flight, and he's reporting that it's flying much better than his first one. So, Greg, as we mentioned, Greg's going through a little bit now, but
right,
we'll get him on down the road to have him come on and tell us about that second Mini. He received them by that time. Maybe you'll have your second Mini in hand.
Yeah, I should have mine this week. But the other thing that's kind of interesting, Ron, is they said, hey, we're going to send you a replacement gimbal for the one that you've got. Mm-hmm. And they sent me instructions on how to replace it. And now listen, before anybody freaks out, I totally understand. If you buy a new drone, you shouldn't have to be replacing a gimbal or anything. They should have a service center that you send it off to get that stuff done.
You shouldn't have to go into Al Duran mode, huh?
Yeah, that's right. So, but on the flip side of that coin is, I know a lot of people are going to be in that situation. So I'm kind of anxious to get that gimbal. It doesn't look too tough. I'll do a little video. I mean, I am not good with a solder gun or any of that. So I'll do a little video and see if I can replace it. And if I can do it, I would say probably anybody can. And
well, we can always reach out to people like Al Duran and John Coopy. I'm sure they could be of help on a project like that.
Yep. So. Hakarasho says, too late, I'm freaking out. I hear you. Don't blame me a bit, buddy. But what I'll say is, they're sending me that in addition to a whole new drone. And everybody that I know that they had problems with their drone, with their Hubsan Mini, Hubsan is completely replacing them. They're sending them a whole new drone. Everybody we know that's had those kind of issues. So
I mean, I joked about us, they calling us fanboys, but I mean, we were critical of the Xeno Mini, but and their customer service, but so far they've kind of stepped up and did the right thing. I mean, they did the wrong thing by sending these drones out that weren't ready for prime time, but now at least they're doing the right thing now.
They understand that people got bad products and they're replacing them. So kudos.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
we're not here to throw Hubsan under the bus. They're doing the right thing here, and we salute them. And also Ross, our buddy Ross Langdon over in Australia, he's also waiting for a replacement for his one that flew away. And really, most times you would fly with the company, say, hey, if you don't have the drone, we can't do anything for you. So this is another big step up by Hubsan in replace that, but. We better get going our agenda here.
Yeah, let's move on.
So, the first thing in business, and this will be short, folks, but we had a big request to bring DeMarco back with his fearless Monday night forecast after he did such a good job last week. So, with no further ado, let's bring in all the way from the heart of Arkansas, DeMarco Moore.
The kids are back there crying, making noise, so I apologize, everybody.
They're waiting for the forecast too.
Yeah. Well, listen here. I won't hold it. Now, like many of you know, I am a Bears fan. I grew up outside of Chicago, so I'm a big Bears fan. So the Packers.
It's going to be a tough game tonight because
I know
bitter rivals are facing each other, right?
Yes, the Packers and Lions are rivals, but I married a Michigander. And she is a big Lions fan. So I had to run outside and get the flag off our house. And tonight I am going with her Lions.
Wow.
Hey.
And as far as I can see here, both teams are 0-1, DeMarco, and the Lions are on the road. So see, DeMarco, people are going to get on DeMarco because they said he got the pick wrong last week. But DeMarco, he could have taken the easy way and taken the home Raiders, but he went with a road team, the Ravens. And to DeMarco's defense, the Ravens were winning that game with 7 seconds left.
I was watching. I was seconds out.
And they get tied, and then you lose in overtime. So you were ready for how long a football game lasts? 60 minutes. You were ready for like 50 minutes and 53 seconds or whatever. I mean, you couldn't have been. That's a darn 7 seconds. Gotcha.
Well, listen, I'm warming up. So I was close last week. This is the week.
And this will be a big upset because I bet you Packers are big. But we know Aaron Rodgers stunk last week, right?
Yeah.
And the Lions have a new quarterback, Goff.
Yeah. We will see.
Yeah,
we'll see. You know, I'm rooting for the wife's team here. Don't pick the Lions. Come on, Lions.
Hey, speak of that, I hope Johnny didn't lose his shirt last week when he bet on the Ravens.
Said it to me, actually.
Is Johnny in the chat? But okay. Sorry, folks, for all the football talk or whatever. Okay, with no further ado, what you want to go to the big story right away, guys? Yeah. Marcus, DeMarco, go right into the Autel stuff. I mean,
let's do it.
I mean, we could go Hero 10 first. Let's just jump right in Autel, and then we'll and then we'll get. So, okay, we got some experts coming in to help us with this Autel story. It's a big story here. Not only do I have a hot rod from Daytona, but I got Matt Conda from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So we got the Florida contingent coming in here.
Hey, Matt. Hey, hot rod.
What's up, boys?
What's up, Matty?
What's going on, buddy? How you guys doing?
Welcome, our Florida friends.
Yay, hot Florida is what it is.
I can't fly right now because it's rated too much up my way.
Where you at, hot rod?
Just north of Daytona.
Okay.
And how far is that from Fort Lauderdale, man? Is that like 100 miles or something? Or
about 3 hours.
3 hours.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Not too far.
So, well, guys, let's jump right into it here. Now, I put the link in the chat. It's a Twitter called Jasper Ellens put a tweet out a few days back, and all the big media things like Drone DJ and Drone XL have all jumped on, and they've reprinted the story. I shouldn't say printing in these days. They repasted the story around the internet. So we've kind of all seen it, and I don't like to put somebody else's website on here like some of the other things do. I just don't like to. I don't want to get in trouble, number one. I don't want those people to see the stuff here and not go to the people's site who originally posted. I want you to go to Jasper Ellens on Twitter and look at. He's the one who put out there. He should get the views on this, not me or Drone XL or whatever. Jasper Ellens. But I will. I had to think up, so I kind of go over some of what he he talked about here, and
it's very exciting.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
okay, we've been talking about a mini Evo Mini all summer, so he threw that one out there. He threw a mini out, so we kind of expected a mini, but what he also threw out is a light.
Yeah, in the picture you can see it's a little bit bigger.
It looks like it's you know, like I have them kind of lined up on my desk here. It's sort of you know, I'm guessing that Autel Mini is going to be, you know, a DJI Mini size here, and I could easily throw in a Phoebe Mini or something here, but I'm guessing the Lite's going to be more of the size of the Air 2 series of drone, based on what he puts down in specs. And they even, we haven't heard, well, I didn't hear of a Lite before too, but that was in that picture that they found at that Chinese drone show where the guy walked by and one guy was blocking the camera. But you know, they also he's announcing that Evo 3 coming out.
Evo
and
3.
I know Hot Rod will like this. The top version of this Evo 3 features a 4/3 camera, which Hot Rod's been looking for in the I can never
The
remember
Evolve,
the name of that
X Dynamics, X Dynamics Evolve 2.
Yes.
Hey,
exactly.
Ron. So we need to give credit where credit is due. It's pretty clear that Autel was listening to our friend Johnny Alfonso, Johnny Drone Flyer, because Johnny was the one that told them they needed to fill out their lineup and get that mid-price drone in there. You remember that?
He told the former CEO right on the show.
He
said,
did.
You guys need more inventory.
Yep.
Thanks, Johnny.
It worked.
Yeah.
They're going to hit all aspects
knowing
of the
supply
market.
chain, though, he already knew they had the light sitting in there during that conversation.
Yeah.
It was probably on his desk.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, no doubt.
And now what's that? I mean, you know, there's other specs too. I think like it's a lot of variation here, more than what we see from DJI. Like I think like the Lite, you can get a 1-inch sensor version, one that doesn't have a 1-inch sensor. The Mini, I think one Mini has optical avoidance, another doesn't. There's even 3 versions of the Evo 3. I mean, like we've never seen this type of variety before.
4.
Pardon?
There was a 4th one in there. There's actually 4. That last one is sensor something other. I always tried to figure out what the heck that one was, but it's another version of the 4/3 is what it looks like.
Wow. Well, how seriously should we take these leaks, guys? I mean, I hate to tell something. I hate to speak something like it's gospel.
It looked like real pictures to me.
Let's just put it this way. Knowing where I work, Ron, there's no marketing department that would have let a video like that release without intentionally knowing what they were doing. So I would say it's real. They're trying to play. They're playing DJI's game, right? We all know DJI does this, so Autel is just doing the same thing.
That picture that you see
and
of
Mark
all
is
those.
trying to say, don't forget the Johnny drones also.
Well, they're talking about it in the chat. They're calling it the Johnny drone, and what I'm telling them is there already is a Johnny drone, and that's the Mini SE. So they're copying DJI if that's what they're doing.
Oh yeah,
I think that picture is real. If you guys look at the one that shows all the different models they have on that desk, there's a dragonfish sitting right there in front of the camera.
Right. And that picture still from that video that corny video where they're at a Chinese show and the guy's videoing all the drones, and then he sees the Minis behind a dragonfish and an Evo 2, and the other guy blocks the thing. Well, listen, like Rob was saying before, if you're trying to keep something a secret, you don't sit them out on a table like that at a drone show, right?
That still looked like a setup. Let me tell you, that video was a total setup. I'm just
probably was.
Yeah.
There was no way some engineer said, "Hey, let's just make this video and put it out." No one cared.
There's one thing.
Thank you for doing that too. I appreciate it.
Yeah, there's one thing in those specs that has really got my interest a lot with the Nano, and that is the dual band. So I'm under the assumption that it will work with the new smart controller.
The V2 smart controller.
The V2 smart controller. Yeah.
That'd be
that's
smart.
the one thing that DJI didn't do with the Mini was really make it compatible with the smart controller. And I think
they did, Hot Rod.
Did they?
Yeah.
The
Did
Mini
they in
too.
the end? Got it.
Okay.
So that's the one thing that I think is kind of a really good selling point, because you have to remember, you know, with the Mini 2 already being out there, and this is kind of what I was thinking about with it, you know, I've got a Mini 2, so why would I want to get an Autel Mini if it didn't fly with the smart controller? Because I'm the kind of guy, and that's true of all of us that are probably on this show, other than Marcus, who likes the less expensive drones, have the higher end pro
don't say I
models.
like them, Rod.
Yeah, I know. I know you like them.
It's a love-hate relationship.
Yeah, but for those, but I guess where I'm going with that is,
I know what you meant.
If you're going to if we're going to be in that pro model anyways, and we're probably going to be wanting to use smart controllers anyways, in order for me to sort of justify sort of doing the Mini, I would want that Mini to be able to fly on that smart controller.
I would.
Yeah, plus you Florida guys are dealing with a lot of bright sunlight.
Oh,
a lot
God.
of you're out there.
Very.
Use
It
those
is.
extra nits.
It is rough. You have to have a lot of nits down here, or you're using some sort of sun pad, sunshade. It's ridiculous.
How much is that smart controller though? Like 1,100 or 800?
$11.99.
$11.99.
I think Lon is making a good point in the chat right now. You know, everybody just calling it a Mini this and a Mini that.
Good point.
It's Nano.
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 Yeah.
Which is a good,
take. Talk about this Mini, but the Nano. There is Autel doesn't have a Mini. They have a Nano, a Lite, and an EVO 3, I guess.
Yeah.
And various versions of the EVO 3.
Those fisheye lenses for the EVO 3. Now, would that make it more of a competitor with the Skydio, or?
For the obstacle avoidance, that everything that I've been reading, supposedly that's the case. Although those sensors are in different places than where the Skydio is, because the Skydio's got them on the props, right?
Yeah.
On the ends of the arms. So
right.
I saw some discussions around, you know, are they sitting high enough to not see the props and sort of get bogus? One would think that their engineers thought about that.
Yeah.
Hey,
You would.
Rod, with that 4/3 model coming out with the EVO 3, could that sway you from the X Dynamics drone over to the EVO 3 with the 4/3?
You know, that is a great question, and I'm really debating still on that one, because there's still an advantage to the X Dynamics that beats Autel and DJI, and that's the fact that you can put standard lenses on that camera to change what it does, right? So with the Autel, you know, they're going to have those 4, which means you could buy all 4 of those cameras and swap them out on the same frame on the E3, kind of like you can with the E2. I could buy the camera and swap the camera, but I don't really want to swap the camera. I'd rather just put a lens on it, like a normal camera that I'd walk around with, to change it from wide angle to telephoto to whatever it may be, kind of thing. And I still think it's like the Inspire, right? Being able to switch lenses like you could with the Inspire, I think there's a big advantage to.
There is, without a doubt.
Hey, Rod, I got a question for you. So I understand a Micro Four Thirds is a bigger sensor, right? But for you, what is the advantage of having that format?
So you've seen some of my videos where I'm doing the rocket launches, and especially where they're doing the nighttime rocket launches. That 4/3 is going to pick up the nighttime a heck of a lot better than the 1-inch sensor.
Just to suck in more light.
Well,
Just to suck in more light.
Plus, you could throw a prime lens on that's letting in more light.
Yep. And that's kind of the advantage of, I think, that Evolve in having the 4/3 and being able to throw that telephoto on it. Because if you look at the EVO 3 Rumors things, right? They got that one that's got the 10x telephoto, but that looks like it's going to be probably a 1-inch sensor.
Yep.
Right.
With the 10x. The 10x would be great for what I want to do, because, you know, I'm literally, when I'm sitting in Ormond, I'm about 55 miles from the launch site, which you have to be anyways, because the TFRs are about 40 nautical miles, which puts it about 1 mile south
That's a heck
of the
of a
pier.
TFR.
Yeah, it is. It literally puts it about 1 mile south of the pier in Daytona. Is as
Hey,
far
Rod,
south as I can get.
Rod, you just reminded me of something. So when I was there in Orlando on Disney property, of course, I was looking at the app and at the sectional charts. And what I didn't realize, that TFR that Disney has, it doesn't cover their whole property.
No.
And it's a 28-year TFR. And I assume that they'll renew it at the end of that. It was interesting looking at all that. But like if you're over there by the Hollywood studios and some of that stuff, you could take off, you could fly your drone right over that, and you're
Except for the security guys showing up.
Well,
Yeah.
no, if you did it on Disney property, but what I'm saying is if you were out someplace else,
you don't even want to be flying a Cessna under, I don't know, 5,000 feet or something like that over Disney, because they will come after them too. It's not just drones.
Not their I'm not talking about it and where their TFR is at. I'm talking about outside.
There was a guy, oh God, what was it? When it was all shut down, Matt. I don't know if you remember that one guy that sort of took his drone and flew it over there by Disney, and
He ended up with federal charges.
Yeah, he got nuked pretty good.
Here's what I'm going to tell you is there were, while I was there were in the area that there's no TFRs, there were a ton of low flying helicopters. I mean, I saw them. I assume they were helicopter tours.
Yeah,
I assume
most of the time that's what's in that area.
There was a ton of them. So, Rod, I mean, they were low. I mean, they weren't like drone low.
But they weren't. Oh, they didn't go flying over. I'm telling you, if you're in a Cessna, you got to stay. I don't know what the altitude limit is over top of Disney, or you're going to be told. Here's a phone number.
They were right over the top of Disney Hollywood Studios and at Epcot. They were flying. You'd look straight up, and there they were. I mean, I saw them, Rod.
And you never know, they could be Disney owned. If they're Disney owned, then Disney would obviously allow themselves to fly over their own property, kind of thing.
True.
Yeah.
You're probably better off flying your GoPro around there, Marcus.
Well, of course,
on a tall stick.
Yeah. And, hey, so can I touch on that for a second, Ron?
You want to jump to Hero 10?
Well, I just wanted to you had talked about people with the OM4 and the OM5, the Osmo Mobile. I saw some bloggers there on Disney property.
You saw the OM5 out in the wild?
And they had their Osmo Mobiles, and it's so funny watching. They get the big vlogging setup with their microphone and all that stuff. And in one case, it was this girl, and she was all dressed up and had big fluffy hair, and she was talking. It was hilarious. Anyway, it's funny. We see them on YouTube, but it's funny to see them in action.
In real life.
Yeah.
I always say, I think DJI is bad market because they market these selfie things. And again, these young girls that Marcus just described. I never see anybody but old fart using these gimbals or whatever. I
got one sitting right there. I took it out of the case specifically for DroneNation. That's about it. I never use it.
So Matt,
I don't use mine.
I use mine. I use mine for motion lapse, and for panoramas. And that kind of stuff. Other than that, for actually using it as a gimbal, no, I don't.
Yep, I had plans for it, and they just kind of.
Yeah. And
I picked it up for a cheap price on Amazon, and I couldn't help myself. I said, what's the fuss about? I want to see what this thing's all about, and I loved playing with it. I put it in the case, and then I just sit there and watch the case collect dust.
Yeah,
I actually have
a lot though.
Yeah, I would have a use for it, Marcus. Yeah. I got one use for it, and it's my new family member.
Oh, there you go.
So the tracking on the OM, so that I could film the pet because of how fast he moves around and stuff, would probably work better than me trying to manually track him when he's playing.
Right.
I just picked that up. My very first GoPro.
The 10?
No, this is the 8. The 8 black.
The 8.
I bought it used off a friend. This is my first one though. I've never owned one.
The 8's a great one.
I actually bought it for FPV flying, believe it or not.
Right. It's very popular with that.
Hey, I just wanted to say in the chat, Stephen Ewing is talking about, he's from
Ireland.
Ireland, but he comes to Florida quite often. And he was saying that he has taken that helicopter tour, and he said for an additional $20, they'll fly over Epcot. So I don't know.
Maybe Disney owns that helicopter company,
or they have paid Disney so that they can do it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I listen to your point, Rod. I didn't see any of them flying over the Magic Kingdom, that part of it. But I saw plenty of them over Disney Studios and Epcot.
Yeah. Disney controls that airspace really bloody well.
Yeah.
DeMarco, you had your DJI. What's that little handheld one you just had?
The Femi Pocket or whatever.
The Femi.
Oh, the Femi Palm. The
Palm,
Femi
yeah. Yeah. I didn't use it for a long time, but my wife uses it for her kid's soccer game, and she loves it. So, but like we use this way more than that. My pocket. But one day I'll figure out something to do it though, but it's just too bulky.
So Ron, I need to tell you, Ron, if it hadn't already shipped, I probably would have canceled my Hero 10 order today.
You have to watch the video.
Why, Marcus?
Watching reviews.
No, the reviews look pretty good. I've had my Hero 9 lock up on me so much lately. I was out when I was doing the video today with that SGRC F7. I was doing the narration part, and all of a sudden the screen went blank, which is no big deal because it does time out after a while. The camera is still shooting, but the screen goes dark, right? But I got done with that part of it, and I looked at the camera, and I saw the red light wasn't flashing. Well, the frickin' thing locked up again, and it did. The last time I was out with it, it did the same thing. It is so frustrating, and the only thing you can do is you take the whole rig apart, you pull the battery out, put the battery back in to reboot it. I'm telling you, GoPro needs to figure that out.
Well, they have put the GP2 chip in the new one, so that should eliminate all that freezing and slowness.
I sincerely hope so, Ron. That's my hope as well. But I was not happy today.
To me, that's the big feature for the Hero 10 for me is that GP2 chip. I mean, doubling the frame rates down the line. Hey, they already got great frame rates or whatever. So that GP2 is going to alleviate the problems, the slowness and the sluggishness. To me,
and that's probably what's causing some of the lockups on that, Marcus, is they were really pushing the end of what that chip can do.
Yeah.
And so, from a software perspective, if, that chip goes to 100% and then they're trying to execute another thread and then it just kind of gets all crazy at that point. Yeah. It's going to just.
Yeah, no, and I think you're right, Rod. I totally agree with you. But the Hero 8 had the problem to a degree, but the Hero 9 has been even worse. And it's I love
bigger,
I love the video.
Bigger megapixels, more frame rate, more pressure on the CPU. That's why it was worse than the 8.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, the other point is now Air Photography, when he did his heat test, he shows that Hero 10 now shuts down way sooner than the Hero 9 will overheat much faster, I guess is what I was trying to say. So that new processor, there's a cost. It's definitely producing more heat.
I was trying to remember. I thought I watched somebody's and they were talking about it and they were doing that test, but it was sitting on the desk. And he kind of brought that up at the end of the video that in order to really do that heat test, Matt needs to do it because he's in South Florida. Literally take the thing out, put it on a stick. Because if you're doing that test and you're trying to do those frame rates with it sitting on something, then it's not getting air underneath of it. Yep. And so it's probably going to run a little hotter. So until you actually put it on a selfie stick and take it outdoors and then do something like that, it could be a big difference in what you might see.
And that was Air Photography that said that. So that was
Air Photography. But Rod, here's what I'll tell you. I've had mine overheat and shut down on the tripod, sitting on the end of a selfie stick. So
Wouldn't surprise me, and it also could be that they've gone conservative on this initial release until they kind of figure it out, and they may tweak it with firmware updates when that shutdown point is. So, you know, they're sort of erring on, okay, we get X percentage of failure rates with it set this way, and that's kind of the way they've shipped it out probably, and they could easily change that with firmware.
Yeah.
And I'm with Marcus only. I haven't ordered the Hero 10 because I listened to my good friend Lauren Donner in the chat. He said DJI's releasing a whole bunch of stuff in October, so I'm going to sit in the sidelines for a few weeks here and see if Osmo Action 2 doesn't show up in the near future, and then I'll check the specs against the Hero 10 and see which one is the worthy one to get.
I'm such a sucker, Ron. When I saw that deal where they offered the little tripod and an extra battery and a what else did they give with? There was an SD card. Yeah, I said, oh wow. In fact, it was when I was in Florida. I said, oh man, I better get that. Boom.
Marcus hit the buy button once again.
One day, Marcus, one day. I'll be there. One day.
Honestly, I think one of the things, there's two things that were on it that sort of enticed me. One, I like the higher frame rates because I really do like doing slow motion. And I do that with my Air 2. I will put it in that 240 mode and sort of shoot the waves curling in. It actually makes the waves look bigger when you do it that way. It's not like the waves are really big in Daytona, 3 foot maybe. So the slow motion thing, and then that coating they put on the lens for the water is like, boy, yeah. I could do some interesting things at the beach in the water with the waves shooting and sort of not have water droplets all over the video.
That's a great point, Rob, because it doesn't matter how waterproof your camera is. If you got water drops all over the lens and you can't take decent video with it, what difference does it make?
Yeah, the interesting part though, and for Marcus, and I forget who mentioned it, but you know, because it's the same everything on the external, you should be able to order that lens and put it on the 9.
Yeah, with the hydrophobic coating.
You can order that. Well, I don't know if you can order it today, but you will be able to order that lens eventually and put it in your 9.
Rod, I got news for you though. I don't take any video in the water. Not intentionally.
Oh, come on. Anyway. You don't go swimming down there in the Snake River? There's too many snakes in the river or something?
Yeah. No, it's homie can't swim.
Well, you know, the nice part, Marcus, at the beach, I can stay in the 3 foot of water. So I'm good there. So I'm kind of with you on that ballpark. So
yeah. And folks, I do, you know, for more information on the Hero 10, I'm negotiating with Sean Ozz's people to come on the show in the near future to talk about the Hero 10. I don't think he has it yet, but you know, Sean is more into these action cameras than any of these because he's always flying down a mountain on a snowboard or skis or mountain biking down the side of a mountain. So he's actually somebody, a lot of us just use or actually camera is just a camera on a tripod, but he actually uses the GoPro for what it's intended for, ruggedness or whatever, which kind of gives the GoPro that extra edge over devices like the Pocket and your phone on a gimbal. They're all great cameras, but you got while what you're doing with them, the GoPro, it can fall down, fall in the river, whatever. As long as you can find it, it's still going to be working.
So can I tell you one of the really cool things about it for me, or at least the Hero 9, when they added the stable horizon. So when I'm out setting up to do a shot, I don't have to worry so much about whether I've got my camera perfectly straight on the tripod, you know, or if I'm on uneven ground or something. It just takes care of it for you. That's a big deal. But John,
and it's even better. It's even better in the Hero 10. They've increased the angle even more.
I noticed the 8 also has that feature a little bit too. When you twist the GoPro, the horizon stays straight.
It'll keep the horizon. That's a cool feature.
That is really cool.
It's almost like our gimbals on our drones, but this doesn't have anything moving and it still doesn't.
Yeah, but see, when I put that on an FPV drone, I'm gonna have to shut that off.
Right.
Because that's gonna throw.
Yeah,
it's gonna throw it all.
Yeah.
So that's one area that I think GoPro could come out with one more item that would actually be bloody useful. And that is, think about the OM5. One of the big advantages of using that with your phone is all the buttons in your hand, right?
Yeah.
So the one thing you put the
Good
GoPro
point.
on a selfie stick, well, you got to pull it back in and touch the screen to do stuff. Where if GoPro actually came out with something, a stick kind of thing, so that you had controls on it, just like the OM5, right?
Or maybe like a Bluetooth hookup or something onto the selfie stick.
Right now you can use a phone to sort of control the GoPro, but that's not practical when you're like trying to hold a selfie stick with a freaking GoPro on it.
It will take audio commands too. But
Yeah,
you're right,
Mark,
Rod, it's not the same.
it won't take voice commands, but as we know, voice.
Yeah, depending on your environment, that stuff is
Exactly right. Exactly right.
And GoPro does make a remote you can strap on your wrist like a watch, but the functions are real basic, like stop, start.
Think about the OM though, and think about the way that DJI built that software with the buttons. I mean, you could literally do almost everything with just the buttons.
Yeah,
holding that thing in your hand, and I really think that's an area where they got all the stabilization, so you don't really kind of need it from the stabilization, although the extra stabilization is obviously not going to hurt anything, but it's really about the convenience of controlling the GoPro sort of with your thumb to do everything.
That's the reason I bought this selfie stick, because this selfie stick actually comes with a phone mount that sits right here at the base. So I can stick my phone there, and when I have the selfie stick fully extended, I don't have to worry about pushing any buttons. I do everything right here at my hand on the phone.
Right. So
Matt,
that's where GoPro could really make something nice.
Yeah.
Question for you, Matt.
Yeah.
Just in real world, how does that work? Is there any lag between when you're hitting the button on your phone or?
Not that I have noticed. I haven't taken it out. I've done it in the house. I actually haven't used this thing much at all. I've only had it for a couple days. But I haven't noticed any. Now that's a pretty damn good test to find out. Yeah. Now that you've said something about that, I'm going to jump on that. I want to see if there is any lag in that, because that would make a huge difference.
It's got to be under 50 milliseconds.
I would think
probably, which is, your eyeball is just not going to be able to see that.
Hey, so Rod, I know that you use a smart controller when you can, but Matt, you were talking earlier about issues with being able to see your screen. I know this is getting off the GoPro subject a little bit, but what are your solutions, Matt? What are you doing when you're in the bright sunlight to be able to see your
standing in the shade?
Yeah,
exactly. Find the tree. Find the tree.
That's my only option, really. Other than that, I have sunshades, but sometimes
they kind of work.
Standing, they kind of. Right. You're going to get the glare from one direction or another.
Exactly. Yeah.
The sun is behind you. The sunshades don't work very well.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I ended up putting those matte protectors. Oh, what?
Setting your car is another option.
There you go. That's a great idea too.
You know what my answer is, Ron?
What's that?
You saw it at the drone meetup. You liked it because you could see it from 30 feet away.
Your tripod setup and all that.
He had the world's brightest monitor. I mean, I wasn't even anywhere near Ron, and I could see what he was filming.
Yeah, that Field World display monitor that's 2200 nits. So I don't necessarily, at least when I'm flying, because I have my live deck now. My DJI, I can still do it because I can actually stream the tablet to it because I have a device to do that. But it's just easier with the Autel. But yeah, I could set it up on that one because I've got two. I've got two of the EVO 2 Pros, and one is connected to my smart controller, and the other is connected to my regular controller that has the Alien Tech antenna set up on it. So I leave that set up and connected to the other drone. And kind of the idea is if they release beta firmware, I'm going to put it on one set or the other kind of thing and test it with that. So I can update one and not the other, just in case something gets a little loosey-goosey with the update. But there's still, that Alien Tech is still really nice from a reliability standpoint. And the good news for those of you that are out there that are Autel and have the smart controller, I talked to Covert Drones up in Minneapolis, and they will soon have adapters that you can plug into the Autel smart controller so that you can attach the Alien Tech antenna to those, so that you can actually put it on your smart controller too.
Oh, wow, excellent. Well, I'm glad you guys back the Autel, Rod. We kind of skipped over a little bit. So we talked about the 3 different models coming out. We don't know pricing yet. We can guess the pricing, but we don't know pricing. But I'll go around the table here of these 3 new Autel models coming out, and Rod said maybe a 4th one, but of the Nano, the Lite, and the Evo 3. Has anyone in this panel considering getting one? And if you are, which one is the one you're most interested in?
I'll start if you want, Ron.
Go ahead.
I think the Nano is probably most important to Autel because it's such a mass market product, and it's one that I want to see just because I'm interested in it, not because it's probably the best drone, but I'm personally interested in the mini drones. So now the one that I think is a sleeper is that Lite that you're talking about. I absolutely love my Air 2S. In fact, it's the best drone I own. I'll just say that. My Air 2S is and I'm going to even put it above my Skydio. I love my Skydio, but that Air 2S is the most versatile, best drone that I own. And if that Lite is in that vein, wow, that's a winner. Now, when you start getting into what you and Rod are talking about with things like the Evo 3, the Evo 2, or the Evo 3, I'll be quite frank with you, that's a little bit above my pay grade. There's a ton of features that are really cool, but as far as the camera quality and stuff like that, it's probably not anything that I would be able to take advantage of like you guys do.
I know what you're saying, but also you are a big proponent of things like 360 obstacle avoidance, and that will come at that upper level. And you're also a big fan of smart features and real good tracking, and that also, of course, will be on the higher end drone too. But before we move to Rod, Mark, do you have any? I know we don't know anything. Any guesses on starting prices for either the Nano or the Lite?
Well, the Nano certainly is going to have to be competitive, so I think we're going to see it around $400, right? It's going to have to be, otherwise
that would be the plain Jane one without obstacle avoidance.
Right, and I'm sure the one with OA will be, let's say $550 or $550 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then obviously the Lite would have to compete with the Air 2S, so around $1,000. The Evo 3, that's a whole nother kettle of fish, depending on what it brings to the table. No doubt that's probably a $2,000 drone or better, I would suspect. But yeah, that's right, Matt. I agree. It could be.
You're referring to the 4/3 sensor model, not the 1.
Not
the base. Exactly. The base, Marcus, will probably be pretty close to what the Pro is, because the base is just a 1-inch, sort of like the 6K Pro. But
I like how you said that, Rod. Just a 1-inch.
Just 1 inch.
That low 21
keep in mind, I'm the guy that's been looking at that Evolve and watching really closely, and actually I've chatted to those guys a couple of times on Facebook and stuff. With the 4/3.
Let's start
I guess where I was going to say is, Marcus, everything right now, and you can expect this with the Mini 3 when the Mini 3 comes out, TSMC and all the chip manufacturers have all raised their prices, and literally anything electronics is going to go up in price.
Yep.
From where it was from a year ago.
I own NVIDIA stock and AMD stock, so
you're doing well right now.
Yeah.
Very well.
You need to, not AMD. You want Global Foundries.
Well, yeah,
Global Foundries makes the chips for AMD.
Yeah. Well, and Taiwan Semiconductor. Let me tell you. Yeah.
TSMC. Those guys are making a killing right now.
Yeah. Anyway, we got off track.
Yeah.
So
let's throw the question to Rod then, and working our way around the room. New models. Which one's your focus? And
the one, for me, obviously, it's going to be the Evo 3, and what's in that rumor, which has almost no detail to it, is the low light capabilities, because that one model, you know, is supposed to have some whatever with low light. And you know, you've seen where I've done the rocket shots, and that's kind of the most interesting thing to me. And ironically, sort of going back to the Mavic 3 Pro, which we all know is apparently going to be the Mavic 3 Pro after today's articles. Of all the rumors about the Mavic 3, the one thing that hasn't been in any of those that makes you wonder is they haven't done the interchangeability of the cameras like the EVO 2. You haven't heard a single rumor about interchangeable cameras on the M3. That doesn't mean that they're not doing it, but it just seems interesting that that hasn't come out.
It hasn't been brought up at all.
Not at all. And I think Autel honestly is potentially on to something there, especially when you look at like the EVO 3, where there's 3 or 4 models, right? And the ability to just swap the camera on that model out instead of buying 3 drones.
So Rob, okay, you talked about the price point on the 1-inch one being, you know,
it would probably be in the same
Evo 2
ballpark.
Pro
I would say
cost out.
2300 probably. The Micro Four Thirds, from what I've seen online, everybody's predicting at least $500 model. So you're talking probably a $3,000 drone for the top end model, give or take.
Well,
but the Evolve is $3699, $3,700,
something like that. Yeah, so it puts it competitive with the Evolve, and it may have more features. And
Right,
more
is that 3600 without a lens or with a lens?
No, that's with the camera, and you can buy the lenses, and you can buy standard Micro Four Thirds.
Does that come with a standard lens?
Probably a kit lens.
Yeah, it's a standard lens. It's a standard lens, and then you can go out and buy the ones that's on their supported list to essentially make it whatever you want to make it.
It's just like the Inspire, right?
It is a cheaper version of the Inspire. Is effectively what that Evolve 2 is. It's really, you know, everybody's looking at it and sort of thinking, oh, comparing it to the Mavic 2 Pro. I don't even think that's who they're aiming that drone at. I think they're aiming that drone more at the Inspire guys, because we all know right now Inspire is probably dead. There's been like nothing for an Inspire 3. So X Dynamics sort of jumping into that market makes a lot of sense. And look, who else came out with a drone that is essentially designed to play in that market? Sony. Right? And the Sony drone. So I think that Evolve and the Sony and all of that are really more targeted at that market that the Inspire probably filled.
Ron, can I interrupt for just a second before we go to Matt?
Yes, you can.
Well, because I just want to answer Lon in the chat. Lon was talking about that GoPro has a number of selfie sticks, and they do. But I wanted to point out to Lon, you know, I was kind of mad. I bought this selfie stick, and I looked at the bottom here, and I'm going, well, guys, all you can do is hold it. You can't set it down on anything. It doesn't have a Micro Four Thirds. This is just the other day. I'm fooling around with it, and I'm going,
he figured out the tripod is there. Got it.
Look at that. There's a tripod.
It took, dude.
I've had the thing for a year, and I just found the tripod.
I couldn't figure that out on this one either. This one, I couldn't figure it out either until I saw the lock on the bottom, and then when you flip the lock, the legs pop out. I was like, what the hell are all these little bumpy ends on this thing? I don't understand the point of this. I couldn't figure it out either. Goofy.
Anyway.
So actually, Ron, to sort of Lon's point in the chat about, you know, he's right. Everybody went from the 8K up to the 6K Pro on the Autel. They went up, nobody went back. But this time there may be a difference that may make people want to do that, and that is that 10x telephoto is on the 8K, not on the Micro Four Thirds. So, you know, I've always said, and I don't get why almost every drone doesn't have optical telephoto on it. You know, we talk about line of sight problems, right? So what's the number one reason that people tend to put their drones out of line of sight? Because they want to go over there and go shoot something, right? Well, what's another way to get over there and still keep the drone in line of sight? Telephoto, right? So it really kind of surprises me that we haven't gotten more telephoto. I don't know why we just don't have a bloody telephoto camera on there to begin with, because most times you're at a distance trying to shoot things. So that would solve some headaches.
It would fix a lot of issues
because you don't necessarily have to go out. I don't need to have. I have fishing boats that are 2 miles offshore. Right now, I have to fly out there in order to shoot them. If I had a 10x lens on the thing, I'd go 500 feet and, it'd look like it's right there in front of me kind of thing. So it would solve a lot of that, I think, in a lot of instances, having the telephoto. But to Lon's point, I think that may be the difference that will cause people to, at least on that Evo 3, potentially swap back and forth, is swapping between the one that has the telephoto and then the Micro Four Thirds.
That makes sense.
Hey, Rod, did you see Lauren Donauer's comment, though?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Political for privacy issues.
Yeah, well, we got that now, just flying them around. So, I could take off in my yard and, ask Jim Boyd from Above and Beyond Drones about his neighbor and things his neighbor says, and it's literally right next door. So
Right, you make
I get the point.
Everybody assumes that every drone we have now already has that telephoto, so we might as well have it since we're accused of having it anyways.
No, they think we're spying on them. I mean, you're not really that good looking. My drone is not looking at you.
That's it. You nailed it.
Seriously.
The latest Samsung has what, 100x telephoto on the bloody camera. So smartphones have better telephoto than the drones. So the guy can be sitting up in the parking lot at the beach and take whatever he wants.
Everybody walking down that beach has a smartphone. They could be taking these great pictures, but nobody says anything to those people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Every pervert at the beach could have
100%, probably do. So by the way, Ron, I wanted to ask you a question from something you started the show out with, which was, you were talking about iOS 15. Yes. So how many different types of apples are there?
They have it'll work on the iPhone and the iPad Pro.
So where I work, right? So this is kind of an inside joke. My personal inside joke. There's only one, a bad apple.
Yeah. The Microsoft, when they come out with a new operating system, it's a lot of work.
Only one kind of apple, a bad one.
Well, we'll go to Matt on the Autel.
Yeah, Matt's turn.
I don't know if you want to go with me. My choice would be the Mini, but it would be the Nano. But my Air 2S does everything I need it to do, and as you guys know, I have kind of shot down the FPV rabbit hole. So all my attention is kind of skirted that direction. I'm even selling my Mini too.
What?
I'm not flying it. And I'm doing my 107 course, and I'm gonna have my 107 license. And my Air 2S does exactly what I need it to do.
I like Lauren's question.
And you can see that big glass Lauren has. He posts some of those things on Facebook. He's got some big glass over there.
Yep. I'd be interested in the Nano though, because that's pretty interesting to put all the tech in a 250 drone, like Hubsan tried to do.
Yeah.
So this could be the Xeno. This could be the Xeno Mini Pro, the real Xeno Mini Pro we were hoping for.
Well, that's Autel. I think they'd hit it. I think they'd hit their mark.
You know what I enjoy most about the Mini 2, Matt? It's kind of rather ironic because it goes to a little bit of where you've gone with the FPV. One of the things that I like to do with the Mini 2, and it's not for filmatic, I literally will just fly it visually and never look at the screen. I really and it's kind of my way of practicing with the sticks and sort of looking up and seeing and trying to, really keep my brain focused on which way the drone, and literally just kind of whip it around. And because it's so light, you can get some pretty sharp turns and stuff. And it's fun to just kind of fly it like a toy and whip it around as fast as you can and turn it, and it's kind of fun for that.
Yeah.
And I try not to use the screen to sort of force myself to get a better feel for just how the thing is maneuvering, right?
The way I started out, Rod, flying in little SEMAs around, all line of sight, no screen to look at. You're just flying, look at the drone, and it is kind of a good feeling. Okay, before we move on from Maddie, any guesses of a starting price for the Nano?
The Nano I would say it would have to compete with the Mini 2, obviously. Unless we see a Mini 3 this year, which rumors are out that it might be possible. If you're going to go with extra batteries, which we all do, I'm going to guess around a $600 price point, probably. With extra batteries.
You're looking at the one with optical avoidance and all the bells and whistles.
Well, yeah, because I mean, if with a sensor that's obviously not 1 inch, if Hubsan can do it, then Autel can do it. I would think that would put them above the game in the 250 game if they put it at that kind of price point. But I don't keep up with the camera stuff as much as I should. So,
what I find interesting, Ron, is, on the Evo 3, they're putting that new obstacle avoidance, right? You saw the pictures. And if you stop and you think about a Mini, and right now the obstacle avoidance, it tries to mimic what we have kind of on the Pro and the Evo 2 Pro and that kind of stuff. And you think about those two little things, and it's like, on a Mini, you could probably put one on the top, sort of towards the front, and then put one on the bottom towards the back. And you would think that would give that thing, with just 2 sensors, would give that thing a pretty good range of obstacle avoidance. Yeah. Because less of them obviously takes less power, so that you can get more flight time out of the drone.
Less
processing. Yeah.
So right, the fewer sensors you need to give you the 360 obstacle avoidance, all the better. That's true. But let's go over to our man DeMarco, our fearless Monday Night Forecast guy. What do you think of these Autel drones? Are you interested, and which one would you be picking up for yourself?
I am excited. I mean, like you guys know, I own the Evo 1.
Right.
Sold it about a month or 2 ago. Loved them. I'm probably most excited about the Evo 3. Not that I'm going to buy it, but I really want to see what those optical sensors on top, those fisheye lenses are going to do. Because I always liked the idea of a Skydio, but I wasn't in love with it enough to buy that one. But hopefully, the Evo 3 is somewhat of a rival. The one that I'll probably buy will be the Nano. Since I don't own a Mini right now, I'll probably buy that. But what I would like to do is have a few Autel drones, because I love my smart controller and my Air 2. I love the factor of just pulling out my smart controller and not looking up my phone and all that. I love that, though. I would like to have a Autel fleet. That said, I'll probably go with the Nano. But I was gonna say this too. I think for Autel to really challenge DJI, they need to start selling back at Best Buy.
Good point.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
The Pro is there, at least every time I walk in.
Yeah, the Evo 2 Pro is at mine too, yeah.
I mean, but like really, sell there, because like mine doesn't have it. I walked in there and they didn't have anything. Now that was a couple of months ago. It could have changed by now. But like we all know about this stuff, but like the regular person walking in is not going to know about the Nano and all that stuff unless they actually see it in Best Buy too. But
there's actually another sort of 800-pound gorilla that has not been talked about with all of this stuff. Although I think a lot of people potentially felt it when all the Mavic 3 Pro specs kind of got released. A lot of people were talking about, does it feel like some big gigantic upgrade? It feels a little more incremental. It's just kind of one of those, okay. So have we, like the smartphone world, where have we kind of reached that point of saturation of what's really left to do with them and put on them that is earth-shattering? Or are we just kind of at that point of, okay, yeah, a little here, a little there, you know, slightly better camera, just like it is in the smartphone world? And then for Marcus's world, the interesting part of it is then all those little toy guys are likely to catch up to what's going on with the big guys, and you see that in the mobile market, right? You got
Ron,
Samsung and Apple, and then you got all these other guys, but the feature sets are not that different.
Rod, they got a long ways to go, pal.
Yeah, Mark is right. They can say they have all these specs that match the other big guys, but do they work as well? And to Ron's point too, not only cell phones and drones, but like action cameras, GoPros, like this GoPro 10 is definitely just got incremental upgrade.
There's only so much. There's only so far you can go with the technology to where it becomes just like you said, incremental. It's not like there's, you know, even if the Mavic 3 puts on 15 obstacle avoidance sensors, people are still going to use the drone the same way. How far could you possibly go for somebody to say, you know what, I think I'll get rid of what I have now to pick up on that?
Oh, and here, in fact, Matt, you know what? I take that back. I'm thinking about this. I think before I went out and bought Autel Smart Controller and an EVO 3, I need to see where a remote ID is going to. I mean, like where it's going. Not, I think it's going here. This is the set.
Did you guys? You brought it up, DeMarco. Did you guys see that FEMI is advertising? That's one of their features that they're advertising on the 2022 X8 SE.
Yep.
They're saying that it's remote ID compliant.
Yep.
So interesting. I got an interesting reply from the X Dynamics guys because I asked them about remote ID, and their response to me was, "We have the equipment on board already to do remote ID." So that basically left me with, I think what they're going to convince the FAA to do is basically pump the data that they want for remote ID in the exact same signal that the remotes are talking to the drones in. It's all 2.4, 5.8, right? So it's a standard thing. It's just the way basically they just have to emit the data off of the drone using that signal the way that the FAA wants them to emit that data. Yeah. And because they broadcast in that particular gigahertz range, it's not like it would be terribly hard to, you know, send the appropriate signal out.
Yeah. I'm hoping that DJI is able to do remote ID through firmware and not an actual module. Now, when it comes to my other side of the hobby with FPV, that is a whole nother conversation because that's going to kill us.
Well, did you guys see Ken Herron's show? We had Jason Shafford on last week, and they talked about how XJet said that the new rules are going to kill the FPV flyers, and you know, Jason pushed back a little bit on that comment on that show there, but you know,
Jason seems to be pretty optimistic about the whole thing, and I am too. Of course, I've always said you're going to have to rip it from my hands if I'm going to stop flying. So.
Yeah, but stop and think about it, man.
They compare it to prohibition. They said, like, you know, why outlaw something that you know everybody's going to do it anyways? I mean, again, it's that when you do something like a prohibition, like you're going to do the FPV, you're bound to fail. But they made a point too that the people at the FAA don't really understand what FPV really is
because most of them don't even fly. Pretty much I guarantee you, most of the guys that are coming up with these rules don't even have a drone. Yeah. They don't understand it from ours.
Oh, okay, we'll finish that up. But I'll give you my short answer, and then I'm glad somebody brought up the FEMI. We'll close talk about the FEMI, the new FEMI, for a couple minutes. You know, I'm kind of torn because, you know, between these two, you know, the Mini and the Air 2, I much prefer, this airframe on the Air 2. I mean, it isn't even close. Like, I mean, I much prefer this size drone, what this drone could do or whatever. I know it's twice as much as this drone, but I think it's 3 times the value of this drone. So this is definitely the format I like. So I'm going to say I'm probably won't get the Nano unless it's super cheap or whatever. That I'm probably more interested in a Lite. But if the Lite doesn't really compare the Air 2S, then I guess I'm looking at the
the big boy
at the EVO 3. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to go 4/3 sensor or not. And I'm familiar with the 4/3 sensor because I shoot micro 4/3 in my cameras. So I mean, I'm already accustomed to editing that video. I have Panasonic to shoot 4K 60, already. So I'm accustomed to editing that film.
If you have the lenses already, because you have a camera, you could use them.
Hey, what's up with the? I saw the post too about that the controllers, the same controller from the Skydio and the Parrot. Does anybody?
Well,
similar.
It sort of looks like the Parrot controller, but if you look close, it's not the Parrot controller.
The specs on it, though, DeMarco, are 2.4 and 5.8. It's dual band, so they're putting the new chipset in there. Even if it was that same piece of plastic, it's using the same communications chipset that they just upgraded to in the V2.
Don't worry about that at all. I think this is gonna end on the Autel conversation here. I think the big question is, even if it's just a one-in sensor, do you get the EVO 3 or do you get the Mavic 3 Pro or whatever? That's the big question going forward.
Yeah.
Good point.
And I can't tell you now. I'm going to have to look at all the finals. When each drone's final, look at all the specifications when a thing is released. Maybe you can sit back and watch reviews. Don't try to be the first one to have it. And again, if you're considering the one-in sensor EVO 3, that would be a direct competitor to the Mavic 3 Pro. Now the 4/3 model would be DJI doesn't have anything in their line at that price point.
Hey, Ron. Since you like the Air 2S, I still have my Air 2, and there's actually something about it that I like, although it's not from DJI, that you don't have, that I don't see for the Air 2S, which is the anamorphic lens. I really like that anamorphic lens on the Air 2.
This isn't the Air 2S. This is the Air 2. And Mark the anamorphic lens. I love the anamorphic lens too. So it's
I love that anamorphic lens. So my Air 2, I'm flying it with that lens specifically.
And I love the HDR on this, where the Air 2S doesn't have the HDR. I know people say it's fake HDR, but it still looks good in a lot of occasions.
Yeah, it still looks good. Yeah.
But fellas, 1 inch is for nighttime more than anything.
Yeah. But okay, fellas, we're at the 10-12 mark. Let's wrap up with we got all this Autel news early in the week, and that came right on back of all the Mavic 3 rumors. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, FEMI says they got a new FEMI X8. What is SE 2022 coming? Now that really caught me by surprise. We've already mentioned that it's going to be remote ID compatible. Marcus, first impressions. I know we don't know much.
Well, listen, those of us that have had one, it's actually, it flies good. It's a good platform in that regard. It's always been the camera and the gimbal that have been the issue with that drone. And it sounds like they're vastly improving the camera. And if they are, and if that gimbal works as it should, hey, more power to them. They actually sent me an email. FEMI actually sent me an email to tell me about it, and they kind of like alluded that they were going to send me one, but it didn't actually say that in so many words. So I emailed her back and I said, I said, hey, I'd love to review it if you want to send me
I think they owe you one.
Yeah.
So DeMarco's corporate lawyers wrote that document. Got it.
With all the FEMI crap you've been through, I think they owe you one. And if they don't, we will start signing a petition.
Yeah. Well, would I buy one, I guess, is the next question. and I suppose just for the sake of reviewing it, as long as it wasn't like $800 or something, if it was a $350 drone like the 2020 version was, yeah, I would buy one. Absolutely.
Now, I did notice that they do have a new smart controller coming out with it too.
Oh, that's right. Good. I'm glad you brought
I didn't
that
see
up.
that one.
Yeah.
Yep. There's a picture of it with a smart controller, a FIMI smart controller. Looks just like the DJI smart controller.
It does. Yeah.
Now I hope that's not the screen from that other FEMA used to have with a smart
Yeah.
screen.
Oh God, no. I
Yeah.
hope not.
Yeah, that would be a problem, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Now, hopefully the Horizon's fixed. You know, they built a smart controller. Hey,
Well, we
we
were
should
told
fix the
we were told-
Horizon too.
we were told by friends and people that were in with FIMI that they're new engineers. It's a new gimbal system on the FIMI Mini, and everything was getting worked out. And then it comes out, and damn if it doesn't have a messed up Horizon again.
Not
And
just a messed
after
up
that,
Horizon.
I gave up. I'm done.
The thing is, man, it wasn't. If it was just the Horizon, that would have been one thing. But it was all that gimbal pitch shift and
Yeah.
everything else. It was just a mess.
I don't know. I got laid on pretty good in the FIMI Facebook group because I told them that they're making a mistake. But yeah, what are you gonna do?
What are you going to do?
It's coming out with the same old half-inch CMOS sensor, and there's no obstacle avoidance on it. It's just the same old body frame. It's just supposedly upgraded, so I guess we'll find out.
Well,
Hey,
look at
Phil,
the Hero 10. Look at the Hero 10 versus the Hero 9, right? It's the same frame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the way I
With
look
guts,
at that,
different guts. So
the way I look at that, Matty, is that, why do we fly these drones? Well, it's to get a nice camera and get aerial video with a nice camera. And hey, if all they improve is the camera,
That's
Cool.
that's good enough for everybody,
Yeah.
pretty much. Yeah, that's the
Hey,
biggest
hey.
problem for anyone. I love the way it
Yeah.
flies. I love
Yeah.
the controller. I love everything about it, but the camera keeps it grounded.
yeah,
Hey, I got to interrupt the show for a second. Our friend JS Enterprise, that's Leonard, just got in from celebrating 24 years of marriage today.
Happy
24
anniversary,
years.
Jay.
hey, yeah, happy anniversary.
Hey,
I don't know how you did it.
I do.
DeMarco, how
And-
many years for you? How many years for you, DeMarco?
10.
10.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
long
talked
way to
about
go.
that the other day, Ron.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
Forgot already.
Ron and Marcus, back to that, what else can they put in them? And this is kind of to Marcus's point about the camera. So there is a new camera tech that is coming in the next year or two, according to one of the camera guys that I watch. And they're working really hard on a curved sensor.
That would
So
be
the
interesting.
way what that ends up doing is then, because they can curve the sensor, they don't need to have that big honking curved glass on the front to sort of artificially put it onto that flat sensor kind of thing. And so we should end up with a much, much better picture once
would
that
be cool.
technology hits, which should be able to make the cameras themselves smaller. And that would really impact the drone world where, potentially they could put a much smaller camera on that drone.
Yeah. I know the gimbal looks the same. The only thing I saw in that picture that was different is it's got a little red ring around the lens. That's all I saw.
Yeah.
Other than that, it looks the same, but supposedly it's not. And it's got better range. And that smart controller is interesting. But
Yeah, so Maddie, I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the issues with that drone that I've seen is that it can have problems holding and maintaining satellite connection, enough satellites, and then range can be questionable, both FPV range and control range from
Yep.
time to time. Even though they have their, whatever their system, I can't remember what they call it, but it isn't. Both Hubsan and DJI and Autel do a better job in that regard.
yeah, they definitely do. And
Yeah.
they still haven't come up with a permanent fix for it either, because it happens on every one of their drones.
Yeah.
Do we have any idea of a release date for this? Drone?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
said October.
No,
Or September.
27th.
September 27th.
Yeah.
which
so,
means November.
now.
Yeah, which means January.
Yeah.
Mark is not having the show next Monday then.
Yeah.
So, you gonna buy it, Marcus, or you just gonna wait?
We'll have to see. Like I said, I sent her an email back. I'm honestly, seriously, I'm hoping that they'll send me one to review.
I hope they do too.
Yeah,
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
yeah. Send me one.
Yeah. But like I said, if they had a sale price, if it came out initially for, $325 or whatever, like the FIMI 2020 did, I'd probably order one. I mean, that's, just to have it and
That's
review it.
not bad at all.
Yeah. It's cheap enough. Now, like I said, if it was $800, no, we wouldn't do it.
Well, if it's $800, they won't be moving many units.
Well, you're absolutely right, Ron. Yeah.
I think it's going to be around 5 or 6. I bet.
And
I bet
back to the Autel, the 3 Autel drones. How much will these 3 new Autel, and really I won't even count the EVO 3 because it's just replacing a drone that's already existed. But just a Nano and a Lite. How will that affect the overall drone market as we see it right now? I mean, how will it shift sales, affect sales? Who's going to win? Who's going to lose?
I know with both DJI having the Mini and then Autel coming out with one, it's going to kill everybody else. Hubsan, FIMI, all the toy grade companies, it's going to bury them.
Well, you make a great point, Matty. Other than if they just slash their prices, blowing them out for.
Yeah, I mean, if the Hubsan Xeno Mini Pro comes out on sale for $300, that's a different story.
The one thing that I see in that release that's going to make those Autels sell really well, and it's the piece that I haven't seen a lot of people talk about, as the colors. Think about phones. Having multiple colors so that you can kind of buy your own flavor of what you like versus just plain DJI gray.
I wish DJI did that.
And it's like, I think if you talk about younger flyers, right, getting into the drones, having the multiple colors is the way that you're probably going to attract those types of new guys into this hobby.
True.
You make a good point, Rod, because look at all the money's made in putting skins on these drones to make them different.
Yep.
100%.
Yeah.
And Xbox does the same thing because you can actually order a customized Xbox controller.
And they're popular as hell too.
And you can mix and match and get all kinds of crap and build your own, essentially.
Yeah. I think I still may stick with Autel Orange, whatever.
I would.
We'll see.
The orange is great. The orange is easy to see when it's up in the air.
Well, that's what Ross is saying. Australia Panoramas, Ross in Langen is saying the same thing. He goes, on the mini drone, orange is good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Or red. The orange is the red.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I get anybody else have anything? I guess we'll wrap this up. We're almost at the 10:30 hour, and I'm going to check in on the game here.
Sorry.
I believe the Packers are up by 4 right now, so we got to get off this. We got to get off this thing and root the Lions on that fourth quarter.
I know. Wait, let me put my bid back on.
There you go.
Good luck, DeMarco. Good luck.
So, DeMarco, are you going to get your your wish? Is Fields going to play this week?
Yes, I think he will, and we'll probably lose. But he's a rookie.
Yeah,
that's a rookie to do. But listen, don't listen to me because I've gotten the last 2 weeks wrong. It's looking
you're not wrong yet. The game's not over today. You could.
I don't know. A rookie kind of won with New England this last weekend. So yeah,
Matt Jones won.
My Seminoles are 0-3. So
Green Bay's up by 13.
A toddler since they were 0-3. So hey, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Well, okay. Is there anybody else have anything drone related they want to, or GoPro related that we want to end the show on before we call this one a wrap? Marcus?
Ron, should I order the 13?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you only have the 11, so you definitely should upgrade.
The big question is which color?
I'd probably get the blue just to be different.
Yeah, I got the blue. I got the blue last year.
Yeah.
But the different blue this year.
Yeah.
Rod, you got anything you want to end with, drone related or anything related?
The question that you asked me about the Evolve versus the Evo, you know, I'm still waiting on them to release that and somebody else do the testing and tell me that it actually works. If it works like advertised, yeah, it's going to be awful hard to not get that drone.
Now, are you getting any sort of a timeline on this yet, or it's still?
I left a comment on one of their recent videos, and they came back and said keep a watch out on the pre-orders because I asked them when they were going to ship the pre-orders. So the implication was soon.
So maybe this 2021.
Soon, as in end of the month. Soon, kind of thing. It was kind of the impression that I was getting. I think they've probably had supply chain issues.
This is going to be a busy fall if that Evolve shows up.
Yeah.
So I think, I mean, face it. Look at the camera that's on there. It's the 12 megapixel instead of the 20 megapixel. So if they don't release it pretty soon, they're just going to have to hold it and upgrade the camera.
Yeah,
for the platform.
Of course, as we always say in regular photography, I want better pixels, not bigger pixels.
And that's the advantage of that Evolve is the pixel size on their 4/3, even at 12 megapixels is, let's see here, you know, like on the Pro, the Evo 2 Pro 1-inch and probably the Mavic 2 Pro, you know, it's like a 0.8 pixel size. Where the one on that Evolve is 4 point something. So it's like literally 4 times, the pixels literally 4 times larger, which means its low light is probably 4 times better.
Yeah, exactly. Matty, you got anything you want to say going out? Any FPV? I mean, we know you're going for your Part 107. Whose training course are you using?
So that's a good story. I co-hosted with Ray on the Fly for Fun show last week, or was it last week or the week before? And Johnny asked me to fill in, and we had Greg from Pilot Institute on the show.
Right.
Well, I had reached out to him after the show and asked him for the discount link because he gave us a discount code for Pilot Institute. This man asked me and Ray Kelly for our emails, and I gave him my email and Ray's email. And he signed both of us up for the 107 course and then sent me an email saying, welcome to the 107 family.
Wow. How cool.
That's excellent.
That was unbelievable. And I called Ray and I said, dude, this actually just happened. And Greg said, bro, I want to see you guys succeed. What the coolest guy I've ever talked to in my life. So if anybody wants a 107 course, I highly suggest Pilot Institute because the guy, I've gone through it a little bit. I haven't gone deep into it yet, but from what I have seen, very, very knowledgeable. Very.
Well, I got to tell you, Matty, I went to the Pilot Institute to take the trust test.
Yep.
And the reason that I went there is because a lot of folks went to the Boy Scouts. Well, my trust says Pilot Institute on it. Other people, if they went to the Boy Scouts, it says, where did you get your license? Boy Scouts of America. I don't know, you know.
Yeah, Pilot Institute looks better.
Like, you know.
Especially if you show that to a law enforcement official or something.
Yeah, right.
Right. So how's your FPV progressing?
FPV is damn good. I actually was fortunate to pick it up very quick with manual flying, and I'm doing well, but I've outgrown what I have. And Doc Murdoch, Chris Haley, for anybody that doesn't know who that is actually
one of the greatest guys in the. He flies real drones too, but he's one of the greatest. He's the greatest guy in the drone business that nobody knows.
He is. He is the most knowledgeable person I have ever met in my life when it comes to just building and tech.
At that spin up a couple years ago.
And he just started a new Facebook page, by the way.
Yes, he did.
What was the name of it, Matty? I can't remember.
It's Doc Do It Yourself DIY. Well, he has Doc Murdoch FPV, and now he has one called Doc DIY.
Yeah.
and then he's starting a YouTube. He's got something pretty big coming up. Let's just put it that way. You guys will see it when it comes out. He's building me a 5-inch freestyle drone right now, so it'll be sent back to me probably by next weekend, and then that's where the GoPro's going on top of that drone. So that's what I got.
20
coming.
seconds later, he'll crash it.
Probably. Probably. I got to buy all the tools I need to fix it because I can't keep sending it to New Mexico and back.
Right.
So,
Right.
but that's it. Yep.
Good.
DeMarco.
Thanks for catch up. DeMarco, what's I know you had on. We just had you on last week. Anything new since last week?
Sort of. I'll make this quick. I'm looking at buying a new drone, and I'm looking at I'm just looking now, but I've been looking a lot though at the DJI FPV drone. Has caught my eye again.
Oh, we got another conversion to the FPV.
You're not the only one.
It's really caught my eye again.
I'm still eyeing it, man.
Yeah, but here's what I said earlier. It's just hard to drop that much money and not knowing. I mean, like we're not that far away now, you know. So
that's one of the advantages of the
I'm not going
Evolve,
to,
Marco.
I really have to watch out. Yeah.
The Evolve is like the Inspire. It'll go about 58 miles an hour. I actually think that's probably one of the things in the drone market that somebody could come in and sort of fill in. And that would be sort of a camera drone that can do 80, 90 mile an hour, sort of like the FPVs, but not designed to do the flippy floppy stuff. Yeah. Because if you look at the DJI FPV, a lot of people are using it basically in that sports mode to go 60 mile an hour while they're filming, kind of thing. So
and tell us why that's important, Rod.
You know, the market that we really don't do is car chasing, right, and things like that, or you know. Think of Sean Ozz with the going down the hill. How fast is he bloody going?
Well, I have to say, Rod, too, for us camera drone guys, if you're flying at 395 feet or whatever, and you're flying at 40 miles per hour, which our current drones kind of do, it doesn't even look like you're moving.
Yeah. And the other piece of it is at the ocean, you know, flying sort of 10 feet off the top of the waves, going that fast would give a pretty dramatic
sure would.
Let me throw one more monkey wrench into the works, though. That DJI FPV drone will fly what, you know, they say over 100 miles an hour, although that's not legal. But let's just say you're still in GPS mode and you're flying it at what, 68 miles an hour, whatever the top speed mode is in GPS. What I want to know is, are you still within line of sight on that drone after the first 3 seconons?
Depends on if you're doing circles or not.
Hey, but listen, that being said, this fall of 2021 is going to be hopefully a fun drone year for us.
It's
expensive, DeMarco. Expensive.
Divorce.
Well, DeMarco, you know how we're going to fund these drones? By your football picks. You're doing all that money.
I don't know about that. What I'll probably do too, just to wrap it up, I'll probably wait and see everything first. I mean, because I don't need to have it, you know, that first week, unless it's something great though. But like, what I don't want to do is jump on something and then the Mavic 3 or the Mini 3 comes out, and I mean, funds aren't unlimited. My name isn't Marcus Crawford here, though. I got.
Hey, now.
Well, Mike B, the Drone Ranger, says got to play the lottery.
Yeah, I got a lot of. I mean, with the Pilot Institute thing, and then I had AZ Drone Dude. I don't know if you guys know who AZ Drone Dude is on YouTube, David. The man sent me a Samsung laptop in the mail because he knew what I had sucked, and he said, "Throw that thing away. I'll contact you in a couple days." And he did. He asked me for my address, and I gave it to him, and he sent me a Samsung laptop with 256 gigs of RAM or the storage, and just it's a beast. And that's what they're talking about with me and my luck.
A 4K video killer, huh?
Yeah. And then on Diatone is an FPV company. Oops. They had a drawing. They were giving away free FPV motors, and there was like 200-300 people on Facebook on their Facebook page for the motors, and I ended up winning them.
Oh,
I got lucky.
You're the next Mike right here. Getting lucky.
I know. I'm trying to catch them.
Michael
trying.
Ray. Always winning.
I'm sitting beside Mike Ray spin up, guys. I'm gonna move my lucky
I'm
rabbit.
sitting on the other side.
Okay. Okay. So we got things wrapped up. I really don't have anything to say. So I'm going to echo DeMarco. I'm going to sit back and study all these new drones, compare specs, and maybe watch reviews and whatever before I throw my money out there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, all right. I want to thank everybody joining us in the panel tonight. I want to thank DeMarco for his fearless Monday Night Football pick again. Probably going to be a regular part of the show. I want to thank Matt. Matt kind of jumped on. We just were chatting a couple hours ago. He jumped on late, but great to have you back on. We need to get you on more. Rod, always great to have you on, especially you everything, but especially when we're talking the Autel stuff. You give us some extra insight, and great to have DeMarco back in Florida. I know it was hard to pull him out of the Star Wars world down there, but we finally got him back, and because we got a lot of news to cover, Marcus. This fall, you and I are going to be busy men.
Oh yeah,
the next couple months.
That's not a bad thing.
No.
Yeah.
All right, everybody out there, stay safe, fly safe, and we will see you next week.
Good night, everybody.